Lay. Sir. Yeah. Yeah.
Kayla's in the building.
Already the show goes on all night till the morning. We dream so long. Anybody ever wonder when they would see the sun? Just remember when you come up, the show goes on. Already the show goes on all night till the morning. We dream so long. Anybody ever wonder when they would see the sun? Just remember when you come up, the show goes on.
JJ the CPA here. Hope you're doing well. Wanted to go live today just for a bit. I know you're probably thinking, well, that's what you always say, but I sure hope you're doing well. I wanted to talk to you today about International Accounting Day, but I wanted to say hello. We're Sunday, and we're getting ready to start the week. We're in November now. We're counting down the days till the end of the year. Hope you are doing great, getting ready for a holiday season, whatever it is that you do celebrate. Card Shop Reality, thumbs up. Hope you're doing well, my friend. Hey, I went live yesterday, just kind of giving you all an update on why I haven't been on live much. And sure appreciate all the wonderful thoughts and comments and love and encouragement. We've got Rob from Wichita, my good friend and longtime confidant of the channel and Group 300, and we get to see him often. Rob, hope you're doing well. And what we really want to talk about today is International Accounting Day. So I'm going to focus in on a few things related to that. Thought I might give you a little bit of update related to my health, just for a little extra flavor and spice. I'm going to be going live more often. I will try to get to some kind of schedule. But we are going to be leaving for New York on Tuesday. We'll be there through Sunday. Now, listen, if you're trying to figure out when you can come rob my house, we got people staying at the house, okay? So we are secure there. But Amanda and I are going up there. Chloe is going to be joining us for part of that. We're going to be doing a book signing up there. That was a book signing I did last month up in Minnesota. At the summit that was going on for CPA centrics, those that are specializing in working with CPAs. So what I wanted to talk about a little bit here in International Accounting Day is also related to a couple of videos that are going to be coming out here in the next couple of days that I've been working on. Each of them are what do we call that? A podcast length. They're about 30 minutes each. But I'm really addressing kind of a number of things going on here globally within accounting. So I thought it'd be very timely to come on and say Happy International Accounting Day. I also wanted to go live at this time for those that are on the other side of the world. This is probably when maybe they're starting their day on Monday. And it's probably not actually still International Accounting Day for them. But nonetheless, it is here still in the United States, here in Central Park, Oklahoma. But with International Accounting Day, you know what's so interesting about accounting is that we all are reliant on accounting in every single way. Our brains for accounting, how much air we have to know how much air we need to now take in, right? If we're really going to the basics of what is accounting. But everything is run by money, am I right? Small business, a synagogue, a church, whatever your religious organizations are, a nonprofit, a business, the PTA, a school, really, your household, everything's ran by, we call it money, right? But it's accounting for assets. What do you have? Where's it going? What's coming in? Where's it going out? How much will I have left? And so probably all of us technically could say we're accountants. If you've ever reconciled a checking account at home, well, welcome, you're an accountant. But for those that would say, I am an accountant, I wanted to say Happy International Accounting Day. No matter the level, whether you are in the bookkeeping, if you are doing taxes, accounting for that, reporting, if you are doing payroll, sales tax, any kind of aspect, whether you're a certified public accountant, chartered accountant, enrolled agent, certified managerial accountant. There's so many different designations. If you're a tax professional, if you're just an accountant. But when we're talking about international, we're talking about global, a couple of things that I address in this video that I'm going to be coming out with is the crisis going on right now with the CPA industry. What's really the root issue? There's a number that are saying it's this. Some are saying that this. I think we're ignoring what the reality is. So I talk about that. And there's a lot of controversy on should we be, quote unquote, using workforce offshore to help with the CPA industry. And I address that and kind of an interesting flavor that starts with what my grandfather told me, Omar Abbott Slater, CPA. But I did want to let you know tomorrow night, probably should have mentioned it earlier, but tomorrow night I am having a free webinar. I think you should check it out because we have got a ton of laws expiring. I'm going to share with you in this webinar what it is that is expiring, what you need to do now, how to go about it. And the reason it's a webinar and not on YouTube is that in a webinar, I have a better chance that you're going to hear all of it. And it's important stuff. It's detailed stuff. It's not going to be boring. It's not going to be politically motivated. It has nothing to do with the election. What it has to do with is year-end tax planning that's going on with tax laws that are expiring. It starts now in preparing for it. Your taxes are going up. If you pay taxes, they're going up. People would say, oh, well, it's only going to affect 62% of America. Well, 30%, 38% of America that it doesn't affect are actually ones that don't make enough to actually pay taxes. That's who it's not going to affect. So if you pay taxes, you make money, it will affect you. And it will affect you in a way that your taxes are going up, even just from the standpoint of just a little bit of the rates increasing. It's not just the top rates, and it doesn't stop there. And if you own a small business, 100% your rates are going up. You know, one of the things that we want to address doesn't have to do with an IRS scare. It's not with what's going on in Congress. I'm putting the word that gets people angry on one side. It has nothing to do with our incoming president. It has nothing to do with politics. It's a reality, ready or not. We're going to go through the who, what, where, when, and why. It's the biggest tax law overhaul that expires in 418 days. The thing to keep in mind about it is Congress has to do nothing and these laws go away, okay? They don't have to do one thing for this law to actually expire. It's going to expire. So a lot of times if you hear taxes are going up, get prepared, and you think, well, are they? Well, it would have to be in those circumstances, maybe someone would have to do something about it to increase your taxes. But from my perspective, if it's just a law expiring, that is inevitable. It is a reality. It is now something we do need to prepare. So when I'm talking about going to an International Day discussion, what's befitting is I'm going to be going over to India the first week in February next year. And in May, I'm going to be going over to London. So I'll be visiting with chartered accountants out in London, going to connect with my good friend Amanda C. Watts out there. And here I'm going over with Anshul with June 15 Consulting. Don't have anything to do with him in the sense I'm not partnered with him, but he's the one that's hosting Amanda and I. He's got a real unique way to approach those that are CPAs wanting to work with offshore, those that are in India. He is from India, but he's got an international company. He's here in North America. And with that, I'm going to give you a little synopsis of these videos. And one of the videos I start out talking about this International Accounting Day by saying, this might anger you. And I go into talking about how I had a stroke and almost died and how it is that I had to lose weight. I didn't go through how I lost weight, but I talk about that process and I actually put it all together. And if you watch these next two videos that are coming out, it's going to be a lot of some of the things that I'm going to be talking about in the CPA world in 2025. And I plan to have kind of a real mission and do some things very intentionally related to that. And that's going to be a platform in what I'll be talking about over in London as well as in India. And some of these things that we share worldwide. So befitting that it's International Accounting Day to talk about these. One of the things as an accountant, as a tax professional, we now somehow take on a role where we are more interested in our clients' numbers than they are. But the problem is we have to ensure that the client understands that even though we're doing their accounting, there's no way we can be more interested than them, because they are the ones that result the things that happen in their life, the consequences. It's based on their numbers. So they need to understand their numbers. So many times when people hire an accountant or a tax professional, someone's doing their bookkeeping, they think, well, I don't have to worry about it because they're doing it. Well, what do you mean you don't have to worry about it? They're putting it in order. A bookkeeper, an accountant, is doing a really great job of taking your banking activity at the simplest definition and putting it in categories that's now going to be a profit and loss with balance sheet of assets and liabilities, your profit and loss of income and expenses. All that is 4 categories of what went through your bank account. That's it. Money that came in, is it a loan or is it income? Money that was spent, did it pay a loan? Did it buy an asset? Or was it for expenses? It puts it in the right spot. It categorizes you to then say, hey, here's what your net is. Here's how much you've got left over, which is basically accounting for your numbers. But you've got to ensure that your client is more interested than you, because they are the ones, as we just talked, dealing with those numbers. And so when we're talking about numbers, that actually doesn't have anything to do with your creed, your religion, your sex, your sexual preference, your color of your skin, where you go to church or don't church, or what you believe in, or if there's aliens or not, or Bigfoot, or whether or not you're whatever color skin you are, or whatever. None of that matters, because really, when you think about it, accounting is an international language that we all can understand globally, because we're dealing with numbers, and maybe numbers have different symbols in different languages, but it's inflow, outflow, inflow, outflow. That's what accounting is dealing with. And so I think there's a real common ground for us to really find a lot of, what am I going to go with, kumbaya in working together. And why am I talking about that? Well, right now I'm seeing some pride in America. We know that you've got America's CPA here in front of you. People have said that, so I've taken it and run with it. America's CPA. You know, Rob is always wonderful to remind me that I am America's CPA. But with that, I'm all about being proud to be an American. I'm all about being proud to be an American CPA. But at the end of the day, in my opinion, starting with what my grandfather told me in 1997, being a CPA in America is having a designation that was created in America. And it is an identity, in my opinion, because you now are reflected as a CPA. So people have basically an idea of who you are before they meet you, if they know you're a CPA, because of the value of that designation. But we created that CPA designation here, and it has spread. It's based on chartered accountant, what we have over in UK. But when we're now talking about a CPA and it being a designation, I have seen language where people have said, well, now the CPA designation is worth nothing because you can become a CPA in India. You can become a CPA in other countries, and you're getting the US designation of the CPA. So I'm going to sit that on the shelf for a second. The crisis that we have in the CPA world, I don't think is unique worldwide in terms of our workload is too high. I think we sometimes put ourselves last and we put our clients first. And I think that's something international for whatever reason, the mindset of an accountant. But that's really a crisis in my mind. The crisis with the American CPA here in the United States is that there's 75% of us retiring in the next 10 to 15 years. There's 675,000 of us right now. Average age is my age, 52. We're going to have 75% of us exiting. We've only got 18,000 new CPAs coming in this last year. If you do the math in the next 10, 15 years, we're going to have 300,000 less CPAs than we do now. It's going to be less workforce. Some are saying that those that become a CPA over in India are now taking jobs from America, and that these jobs are being offshored to another country. And I'm all about, American pride. I'm all about protecting American jobs. But when we're talking about offshoring, if we're talking about jobs being stolen, if jobs are being taken abroad, if we're now putting it in context, if you have a company that has a machine shop or a plant, they're manufacturing vehicles and they close it down, let everybody go, and they take that plant overseas and hire people overseas, I would say, yeah, they outsourced, they took it abroad, they basically took those jobs out of America and went over to another country and hired other people outside of that. And I understand about, I want American made, USA made, and I'm all that. But what we have here is a shortage of CPAs. What we have here is a lot of accounting students are not going into the CPA industry. They're not going into public accounting. They're not going into tax. We don't have enough people right now to actually fill the work. So we don't have enough workforce here. When you have a small accounting firm, I was visiting with 15 of them recently, they cannot fill that job in any way, shape, or form. They're trying, they're paying more, but they can't fill it because there's not enough people that want those jobs. The other part is then people will say, oh, well, people don't want to become a CPA or get in the accounting because it doesn't pay enough. Well, maybe that's true, but companies are paying more and more and more and still not filling those jobs, period. I think the issue is the workload. That's really the issue. And that's the issue that caused me to have a strike and be 117 pounds heavier than I am now. It was because of my workload and the stress and not taking care of myself because I was working too much. And I wasn't a workaholic, but I was working too much. With that really is the crisis that I told you at the beginning. It's our workload. And that is something that I think is shared around the world. When I talk to other accounting people in other parts, Netherlands, Johannesburg, Australia, Canada, across America, in the UK, and in Paris. These are people that I have visited with here in the last recent bits. This is an issue everywhere. It's the overworking, okay? And in part, it may not be what we have here, which is we don't have enough workforce, but in part, it's because of an accountant becomes more interested in their client's numbers, not by choice, but by their client allowing them to do that, expecting them to do that. We take that seriously, but we have to ensure our clients stay more interested, right? They have to be responsible for these numbers. We are doing what we can, but we also can't give our life for it. But when you now take all of this together, we now have those that are in India and now also Latin America, but you have those that are in India that you would say, did they see an opportunity here to take American jobs? And people will say, oh, well, they're taking jobs because it's cheaper labor. Well, if you do the exchange rate here, okay, and you go, well, what's the dollar worth here? What's that US dollar worth in India? There's more buying power if you're taking a US dollar into India. So those CPAs in India, as I understand it, when they're getting paid by a US CPA firm, that is a wonderful equivalent to here living, meaning really well paid. Okay. Now, if it's quote unquote less than what somebody could make here, that's not really the reason. And you could say, well, sure it is. Well, then I don't think you actually understand this crisis that I just told you. We don't have enough people. I don't know one firm ever that has fired somebody to go hire somebody cheaper, quote unquote, in another country. They're hiring them and saying, what do you need to be paid? They say this and they pay it. That's not causing wages to be paid less here. The compensation to accounting in the CPA and the tax is going up and up and up and up. It's around 100 grand. And some people may say, well, that's just not enough. Okay. It's all relative. My point in saying that is, if you now are looking at what is actually happening in India, is they're helping us, is just the plain and simple of it. They're not taking a job from America. There aren't enough people filling the jobs. So if you have 100 jobs available and you have 8 people to fill them, and you have 92 people that you need for this work to get done. You need them, and they're nowhere to be found. Is it un-American for somebody to fill that job that's not an American? The company just goes out of business. And so is that really the American way? Well, I guess I'll go out of business. I can't find 92 people to fill the 100 positions. I've only got 8. I guess we'll go out of business. And now the 8 people don't have a job. Neither do I. That doesn't sound very American to me. Now, I get it. Maybe there's some shuckster out there that goes, well, I need 100 people. I'm going to hire 100 people. Oh, I could hire someone cheaper somewhere else. You're all fired and I'm going over there. Okay, 1 in a million, 1 in 100,000. That's the exception. I don't know of anybody that's done that. I know a lot of CPAs. I don't know of anybody that's done that. That has nothing to do with this. That has nothing to do with American pride. What we need to look at is I've got a need here. And by the way, I'm taking care of American customers that have a need. And by the way, there's less and less CPAs taking care of these people. They're retiring. So there's now more and more for that person that needs 100 people. Next week, they're going to need 101. 2 years from now, they're going to need 120. 3 years from now, they're going to need 150 people, and there's still 8 of them. Oh, no, now there's only 6 of them. Now there's only 4 of them. So what are we supposed to do? Say, well, I guess no one can take care of taxes. We'll just leave it up to the venture capitalist and AI to take care of taxes, and we'll just figure it out another way because it's un-American to go now globally to have somebody help us with what's needed here in America. So you've got people over in India that actually respect that CPA so much that they're willing to get the US CPA. I want you to think about this. If somebody came to us from India and they said, well, we want you to do business in India, but we need you to get the India CPA. I don't know. What would you do? Would you be like, well, what do you mean? I'm a US CPA. I'm not going to go become an India CPA. I'm already a US CPA. But India would say, well, sorry. I mean, you're not going to do business here unless you're an India CPA. But we're not even doing that, is all I'm trying to point out. We're not even doing that. You have folks in India that are saying, we respect the US CPA so much. We see the value in it that we will go through the rigmarole of 150 hours, pass the exam, 2 years of experience, 7 years to become a CPA so that we can now work with US CPA firms and help them with their needs. Now, there's some who are just going to be angry, and I get you. You're just angry, probably angry about what you ate for breakfast. You're angry because somebody walked across your lawn and glanced your way. You're just going to be angry about something. You decided to be angry about this. So I would encourage you to just say, well, I don't believe with what JJ's saying, and I'll listen when he's talking about weight loss and saving taxes. Great. Thanks for listening to here. Really what I'm getting at is that we have a global economy here in every way, shape, or form. And while the US CPA was created here, that designation in America has become so powerful that people globally want the US CPA designation. That's how powerful the CPA is. It has not diminished the value of the CPA. That is an ignorant statement. I'm sorry. It is absolutely not the case. If it was not valuable, people in India would say and spit on the idea of becoming a US CPA and say, well, that's not worth anything. Why would I want to do that? Why would I want to become a US CPA? I'm in India. No, they see the power in that. That's how well respected it is. So when you're a CPA and it's recognized worldwide, and now you have people worldwide want to become US CPA, the AI CPA has found a way to do that. There's no way that is diminishing the value of the CPA. It's just not possible. If you don't see it that way, it's not that I disagree with you. It's just that you're wrong. Okay. It's just, you're not looking at it clearly. You're not looking at it straight. I'm sorry. But when we're now talking about the crisis, let's break this all down and then we're going to close out the night. When you have a crisis of CPAs leaving, that's a crisis that's just going to happen. There's actually nothing we can do about it because they're just exiting, they're retiring, they're growing old. That's just what it is. The crisis of incoming, it's happening. We're there, meaning we're in crisis mode. We're looking at it. we have a ship going down. And so I don't understand the logic in, well, I'm just going to go down with the ship, by golly, because I'm never going to hire anybody to help me unless they are an American or they're an American CPA, when there's not enough Americans and not enough American CPAs to actually help you stay afloat. That's when I don't see that this makes any sense. And I just don't see it any other way. I'm sorry. I'm usually not this way, but I don't see it any other way. I'm a CPA for 32 years. It's been in my family for 70 years. There's no way anybody could see this differently. I will listen to you, but you can't see this differently because these are realities. And the unfortunate reason I'm being so kind of like this about it is that when you're in crisis, you don't have time to consider all these other things because we've already considered them the last 20 years. We've already been considering it. We already have let down the accounting student. We already have made it too hard. We already have an aging out CPA. It's too late now to do all the things that you're wanting to do. And in some regards, I think some, why I feel a little passionate about it, have become a little discriminatory about it and using words that really are, I feel, almost a racial slur, not to somebody in America, but to somebody in another country, just because they're trying to help us and getting our U.S. designation. And just as a human being, just as a CPA with the designation, I don't see that that's called for at all, especially when we're in a crisis and we need help. And I think at the end of the day, we have got to start really seeing what today's all about, International Accounting Day. See, this was started in 1972 by the San Diego chapter of the California Society of CPAs. Many think it was the International Accounting Association. Okay, but that's where it started. So great job, San Diego. Great job, California Society of CPAs, seeing this globally. Great job to the American Institute of CPAs. I trust them. They have the best interest of our credential. They're the one that created the value and are keeping the power of that CPA credential alive. So with all of this being said, what I love is being a CPA. And so when you hear me get passionate about it and you say, no, I don't see it any other way, I want you to hear that I'm passionate about being a CPA. I'm passionate about protecting my family's legacy. And I'm all about American pride. I'm all about being prideful of the US CPA. But no one's taking away from that. These people are getting the US CPA. I mean, could you imagine if India said, well, we created our own CPA, and in India, you're a CPA, and it stands for credentialed public accountant. Now, how would we feel then? I bet we would be very frustrated by that, even though we probably wouldn't really have a right to be. But there's no reason that India couldn't come up with its own CPA and then trick Americans that they're CPAs when really they're a credentialed public accountant from India, and it only required a 6-month degree and a little simple exam. And then they could have said, ha, we're CPAs. We get to call ourselves CPAs. They're not doing that. They have the respect to get that US CPA. So Patty B, how you doing? Brent, great to see you. Brent Richards and baseball cards. Bob, outsourcing is not as effective. We have found many holes in it. Also, many clients fervently request not to use outsourcing. Bob, you are correct. Bob Marsh, also as a fellow CPA, great job. Today, Bob says, love accounting day. Should be every day. Love that. Chris B says, have a safe trip. Yeah, and I agree with you, Bob. I'm not outsourcing, and I won't outsource. I mean, maybe, but I don't know why I wouldn't want to outsource if it was the last resort possible. But you know why I don't want to outsource? When I was talking to these 15 local CPA firms in here in Oklahoma, I don't want to actually have someone work at home and work for me. Like, I don't want someone to work a mile away from me in their house. Like, I want them in my office, like, just end of story. That's just, I'm old school. So I don't see it as something I'll ever do if I don't even want someone working at home. Like, we don't have we don't have any employees that work from home. I work from home, but I have a protected laptop, and the only one that does it. That's my big thing. So it actually doesn't have anything to do with India or the USCPA. But when I see other companies resorting to it, and I've now looked at it, I'm just looking at it as a CPA, it definitely has holes in it from the standpoint of security and technology. I actually have a concern. How do you disclose it to your client? Will the client say, I don't want that? You know, and probably just for all the same reasons I just said, security. It's somebody not even in America, just another continent doing. Like, listen, Bob, I agree with you. I mean, there's plenty of holes with it. But when we talk about should another country get the USCPA designation, is that hurting the profession? Is this an evil thing to do? Should we now become racist against people in India that want to help us and they're USCPAs and blah, 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 blah. And there's obviously, you know, holes going to always be in anything. And you know that, Bob. So at the end of the day, I even talk about in the video, it's like, I'm not even doing this. I'm not even trying to defend or argue what I'm doing. And I don't think I would for all the reasons I just said. And at the end of the day, I know that there's some local that have done it, but they've literally done it absolutely out of, I mean, absolute desperation, as in, what else are we going to do? What else are we going to do? You know, what's really interesting, 40% of those that entered the public accounting industry last year out of college were non-accounting majors. 60% were accounting majors, but that's just how few less accounting majors we have. Now, one of the things I talked about, Bob, in that video is if you don't want to outsource, then maybe how do you reduce your workload without firing clients? You know, do you stop doing payroll? Do you stop doing sales tax? Do you stop doing bookkeeping? Do you stop doing certain services that aren't as valuable or is not as profitable? Do you bring in experts to do that? Do you outsource it to companies that are doing all that time, whether it's for a rev share or not? Do you just focus in on taxes? Do you focus in on tax planning? That's one of the things we did back in 2011 is we said, you know what, new clients coming forward, we're not doing their books. We'll review them, we'll clean them up, but we're not going to do them. We're not going to enter them in, right? And then we was like, you know what, we're not going to do payroll. You know what, we're not going to do sales tax. And we're like, you know what, we're going to do tax planning and tax prep. I mean, there's some firms that are like, you know what, we're just going to do tax planning. So there's a lot of different ways to tackle that. And I've counseled other CPAs with workload issues. And like, what am I going to do? And it's like, well, do you want to fire clients? Well, no. Okay. Well, what is it that you're doing for clients? Can you, you know, not even subcontract it out? Can you just carve it, have another entity do it, be involved with it, whether you're sharing in revenue or not? Does it free up time? So yeah, lots of different ways to solve this, Bob. So I appreciate you bringing that up. Let's see. Outsourcing is always my CPA to have more time to be productive, to do tax planning. I'm in favor of it. All right. Well, listen, just want to go live here just for a little bit. We're already at 33 minutes. Wow, that went fast. Well, like I said earlier, I've got a live webinar tomorrow night, and it's going to be a basic webinar. I'm going to go through some of the basics. A number of the things I'm going to be talking about are the expiring laws. So probably if you are in the tax industry, you're not going to be surprised at the laws that I'm going to be talking about expiring. But I'm going to talk about how some of them will impact my clients. What are some of the things that we're thinking about now? What's the things that we're considering? Going to be in New York next week, as I indicated here at the beginning. My lovely daughter's going with me, Chloe and Amanda. Going to be doing a book signing with Cracking the CPA Code. So super excited about that, doing that next Thursday. I do plan, I'm not sure, I doubt it'll be Saturday night, but I do plan to go live from New York. I just got to get there. I'm teaching on 3 different days. Super excited. I'm going to be teaching with Dr. Robert Jameson, CPA, PhD. He is written the book on it, so to speak. That is the S Corporation taxation book there that he has written for, I always mispronounce it, but at the Walters Colders or whatever it is. But anyways, with that being said, excited to be his sidekick, for lack of a better word, on Wednesday, and then I'll teach the federal tax update on Thursday and Friday, doing that with Western CPE. So you can find a link to sign up for that or email me. Love to see you out there. If you're in New York, love to connect with you. So with that, I think we are out of here. Thanks for tuning in. Happy International Accounting Day. Thanks for those that are jumping on. I love to see our favorites. I plan to go live a little bit more and get some videos going out there. The health issue that I had a second stroke earlier this year, and it caused more issues than I let on. Just being prideful, and it just is what it is, right? But was having some real issues. A lot of shaking, and not able to hold a fork, and really having a lot more issues than I let on. And I've been able to have some CPAs help me get work done, and my son has really stepped up, as well as Lona and my wife, and we've put some good measures in play. And just to be honest with you, I'm still actually having a few issues, and so I'm just decided I'm just going to not let my pride get in the way, as my grandmother would say, and just come and do videos. Put it out there. You know who I am, and you know what I'm all about. And you know that I'm here to try and do good things and say it the best that I can. So with that being said, I've said that 3 times. We're out of here. All right. Hey, thanks for tuning in. I'd love it if you'd subscribe. And then don't you ever forget, you've never met an accountant, CPA, EA, chartered accountant, business owner. You've never met anybody quite like you, and you've never met a CPA quite like me. You have a great one. And we're getting ready to go watch Yellowstone. It starts today. We'll see you.